Crysis 2 was my entry point into the Crysis trilogy, which turned out to be the perfect arrangement because, just like me, protagonist Alcatraz is new to the story too. He wasn't around in Crysis 1, and neither one of us knew what happened in that game, so I found it really easy to identify with this guy. And if you've never played any of the Crysis games, I'd say Crysis 2 is a great place to start for exactly that reason. No prior knowledge of the first game is required. In my opinion, Crysis 2 works perfectly well as a standalone thing. The setting is, Alcatraz is a US Marine, and he and his team are sent to New York City that's under martial law due to a deadly virus outbreak. The Marines are supposed to extract nanotechnologist Dr. Nathan Gould, but something attacks them. Alcatraz is fatally wounded, but a mysterious character comes to the rescue and Alcatraz wakes up in a nanosuit. A piece of very interesting combat gear that keeps him alive, but because he's severely injured, he can't talk, making him a silent protagonist. I love this premise so much. The main character almost dying first thing and being resurrected with new powers is one of my favorite tropes because it makes me immediately sympathize with the main character. And Alcatraz, oh man, the poor guy. He doesn't get to express much personality, but I care about him immensely because I feel so sorry for him, and I also have mad respect for him. He's barely alive, but he goes out there and does what he needs to do anyway. Mad respect. Another thing I love about the premise is the lack of exposition. You're simply tossed into a situation and left hoping that somebody at some point tells you what's going on. Because New York City turns out to be populated by infected civilians, a trigger-happy private army called Cell, and some very hostile aliens. It's a hot mess and a lot of fun. There's a surprisingly complex and frightening story going on here. I really enjoy this story, but I particularly love the way it's delivered. Because indeed there's hardly any exposition. You do get clear mission objectives at all times, which I very much appreciate, but the reason why you have to do XYZ is sometimes a bit hazy, and I love it. Your main source of information are the people radioing you, but they just tell you what you need to know at the time, so the big picture unfolds in bits and pieces, which I think is perfect. This is exactly how it should be done, I think. This story trusts your intelligence. It lets you do your own guesswork, and as a result, the plot twists are more satisfying because they were not made blatantly obvious beforehand. In addition, the game is wonderfully fast-paced, divided into nice bite-sized chapters, and the stakes get ever higher as you go along. Gameplay-wise, Crysis 2 is a linear first-person shooter. I enjoy the gameplay a lot. You get a nice arsenal to work with, and almost all the weapons are modifiable. We're talking silencers, clip extensions, different types of sights, and so on. Like, if you left your sniper rifle behind, you can attach a scope to a different rifle, and it's almost as good. The heart and soul of the game is the nanosuit. You can leap high, hit hard, and kick cars at enemies. I like kicking cars. It has tactical vision with which you can tag enemies, and nanovision for the darker areas. The suit can turn invisible, giving you the option to sneak up on enemies to assassinate them or to sneak past them entirely. It also has armor mode if you'd rather take enemies head on, and it really comes in handy. The suit also has upgrades available so that you can tweak it to fit your playing style. The nanosuit is awesome. It seriously makes me feel like I'm the Predator. Well, Predator with broken bones and ruptured organs who occasionally needs a defibrillator to get back up. I think Crysis 2 does a fantastic job of making the player feel powerful one moment and terrified the next. The environments are cool. I wish they were bigger because I'd like to have a lot more of this. The variety of places is wonderful. You have office spaces, streets, subway tunnels, parks, rooftops, and sometimes just everything mangled together. There are really nice high ledges and deep pits. I really enjoy combat in these arenas. Another thing, I truly appreciate the use of daylight. I think darkness and rain are so often overused when the director wants to hammer home this scary atmosphere, and of course Crysis 2 does it too, but in moderation. A lot of the action takes place in broad daylight, and it's a whole new level of disturbing to see the most gorgeous sunny weather in New York City when everywhere around you are evacuated buildings, corpses, and barricades. It's brilliant. I wish more games did this. Yet another thing I enjoy is the depiction of the virus outbreak. It gives me the chills to walk through abandoned FEMA tents, to witness the failed effort to contain the virus. The way the infected people have zero reaction to what goes on around them, that really gets to me too. A civilian running from a threat, screaming, is dramatic, but it's actually much worse to see a civilian slumped on a bench talking to himself, not even aware of the horrors around him. The most shocking moments for me are the times when I'm in some alien-infested pit, clutching my rifle and jumping at shadows, and then come across civilians who don't seem to know where they are and don't even care. The infected are not hostile, and I applaud the developers for not making them into rage zombies and forcing the player to shoot them. I'm sure the temptation was there, but they didn't go that way, and I'm so happy they didn't. Because there are already a million zombie shooters out there. It's so refreshing to see the infected as nothing but sick humans. Their condition is heartbreaking, and it only increased my determination to kick the aliens out of the city. The characters are another highlight. The NPCs represent different factions with individual goals and allegiances, and I love how intelligent and competent they are. Even the bad guys are badass, and I can't bring myself to hate them because they're either just following orders or thinking they're doing the right thing, no matter how messed up it is. It's so well done. I love this game, and I honestly don't get tired of replaying it. My only complaint is that I wanted more. Bigger areas, more enemies, and more situations where you're forced to clear the map, because some chapters can be a bit too easy. But this is just nitpicking. I went on to play Crysis 1 and Crysis 3 afterward. While I enjoyed them as well, Crysis 2 is by far the best of the three in my opinion. Its pacing is flawless, its twists are amazing, it has great action, and yet it's also a heartbreaking story about a dying Marine who has to save the world. Have you played any of the Crysis games? Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.